For at least a week, and if not call it off altogether, but certainly postpone it for a week, to give the people like the Bishop of Derry and the Cardinal, who had asked me to do this, in fact, to try and convey a request to them, to give them more time to negotiate.
I'm ready.
The Cardinal did ask for a gesture from both sides, and we tried to both put it off for a week.
I'll try not to.
I'll try and make sure it's worth it.
I know you will.
But Father, will you be realistic to ask them
Take
to
care.
call off the hunger strike in the light?
Morning. Come in.
Good morning, Charles.
Morning, Clive. Please sit down. I have a proposition to put to you. The Prime Minister has offered me a post in the government.
Congratulations. And very well deserved, if I may say so.
Thank you. I'm considering offering you the chance to stand in for me as chairman during my absence, on the clear understanding that if the Conservatives were to return to opposition, or indeed if I were to be dismissed, then I would be reinstated as chairman immediately.
Well, naturally. Well, I'd be delighted to stand in for the interim.
Thank you. I'm sure it can't have escaped your notice what happened to the last chairman in the same situation.
I shall make sure that that doesn't happen again.
I trust not. Well, I shall not forget your loyalty when I return.
Congratulations again.
According to your file, if you were to have a termination, it would be your third in 5 years.
Does that make any difference? It doesn't worry me.
Obviously not. Do sit down, Miss Wallace.
Thank you.
Is there any chance the father would want you to have this child?
I can't be certain who the father is. See, it was the end of one relationship and the beginning of another.
Well, I estimate that you're possibly 5 weeks pregnant, but it could be as much as 8.
Then it could be either.
Have you considered having the child and bringing it up yourself?
Good heavens, no. I make my living as a model, not as a mother.
Do you mind awfully not smoking, Miss Wallace? Well, your GP has signed the green form, so I suggest that you telephone me beginning of next week and we'll confirm your admission.
Then you may as well book me into the same clinic as before. Is that all?
For the moment, Miss Wallace.
Thank you.
Andrew, got time for a drink?
Is the Scotsman paying or am I?
I think we can still afford 2 whiskies.
I'll do for you. My father being a pain in the arse.
I'd call him a supporter compared to your new chairman.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Frank Boyle. He won the vote tonight, 7-6. Come on, Andrew. We both know the bloody man's a militant troublemaker, and my editor's screaming for a quote.
I can't say anything, Gavin. Not until I know all the facts.
I've just given you all the facts. Now,
I'm sure Mr. Boyle will continue to serve in the best traditions of the Labour Party, and I look forward to working in close cooperation with him.
bollocks. Where do you expect us to print that? Private eye?
Good night, Gavin.
Last night, I was woken up by an Alsatian licking my face. Elizabeth didn't appreciate that at all.
Does a police dog constitute grounds for divorce?
Mind you, she's taking it very well. At times like living in a prison.
Night, Charles.
Night.
Seymour seems anxious to get out here lately. One time he couldn't keep him away.
I think it's because he's also been woken up by someone licking his face. Certainly not an Alsatian.
I thought we both deserved a little treat. Do you mind if I give you a piece of very sound financial advice?
Not exactly what I had in mind.
Yes, I can see that. It has occurred to me for you to use your flat simply as a hotel, and for me to rumble round in this enormous house on my own doesn't make any sense.
Get into bed.
And do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Get in.
All right.
I'm going to have to go away for a couple of days.
Why?
Because I'm pregnant. I've already booked into a clinic. I'll be fine in a couple of days.
I see. Have you considered how I might feel about this?
Of course I have.
Why don't we have the baby? I've always wanted a son.
Don't be silly, Charlie. There's years ahead of me for that.
I mean it, darling. I want our child more than anything in the world. Don't you realize what I've been trying to say? I want you to marry me.
Charlie, you're already married.
Getting a divorce is no problem. And life with me wouldn't be so bad. Would it?
Of course not. The first man I've ever really cared for.
Will you marry me?
I'll think about it. In any case, you may have changed your mind by the morning.
TWA flight number 753 for Boston is now boarding at gate number 8.
Next time I'm in the house, I shall propose a motion forbidding anyone saying goodbye to someone they love in a railway station or an airport terminal.
I have so much I still want to tell you.
I know. Vice presidents of banks don't cry. People will think you're a soft touch.
Now they should QCs. All I want to
Hello,
say
Mr.
is...
Gould. They're Cox. You don't remember me, do you?
No, I don't.
You're in next class of primary school in Leeds.
Oh.
Mind you've come a long way since. I never thought you would. Oh, this is my missus. We've been to Miami, one of these package tours, you know. Oh,
Nice to meet you.
Ray and his brother were real terrible. Remember Chalky White?
This is the final call for TWA flight number
It's on some committee with your Joyce, don't you, love?
Now boarding.
And we always hope for you, of course.
Yes,
Would any remaining passengers proceed immediately to
I'll
gate
wait. I
number
don't often
8?
get to chat with my MP.
I'm sorry about that. They've got hearts of gold in Leeds, but they talk too much. Now, what were you going to say?
Only that I would have been happy to live in Leeds, however cold it is. I never envied anyone in my life, but I do envy Joyce.
An American lady. Well, I guess you know, I'm good on accents. Friend of yours?
Yes, my best friend.
Oh, lovely.
Look, it's very nice to meet you. I have to go. Bye-bye.
All right, Mr. Gould. Goodbye.
This charter is a breakthrough. No one's ever got this far before.
Well, still only a piece of paper, but if the House backs it, I might be allowed to prepare a bill.
God, I hope so. Now, embryonic statesman, I'd better get on. Peter will be here in a minute with his friends.
Who's he bringing?
Annabelle, his new girlfriend, and his two flatmates, Mark and Oliver. Will you try and remember their names, please?
I'll be charm itself. Bear it and some wine.
We finished it.
What happened to that case of Beaujolais?
Well, as we eat in most of the time, it goes. I'll nip out and get some in a minute.
I'll go. Need some air. All right. One of you wants to come to the off license with me.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but, well, when I was told you were staying in for the rest of the evening, I allowed your official car to go back to the station. But, well, Constable Baker here can accompany you.
That's no problem. Take my wife's car. I can find where she's parked the damn thing. You drive. Don't bend it.
I hope we're not being too much of an inconvenience, sir.
Not at all. My son's not too happy, though. Here we are.
Why is that, sir?
Nothing serious, Frank. How's your boy?
Oh, not so good, I'm afraid. Wants to leave school.
What?
Some of the kids found out his dad's a copper.
Huh.
That's life, I'm afraid. Right. So, sir, what's your wife think about the mini metro?
I'm going to lose this vote.
But if we always pick to pieces any suggestion before it is tried, violence will continue. At least this clause will provide a temporary dam to stem...
That is not what I meant. A 10-year transition is what I want, so that the North and South can get together. A decade after hundreds of years of bloodshed. Is that too much to ask?
Simon, I'm not the opposition. I'm your wife.
I'm sorry. I just can't cut off from what's happening over there.
Well, what's happening over there almost killed you. And it did kill that poor policeman.
Well, why do you think I drafted this charter? To develop political control in Westminster and Dublin into one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel so bloody helpless.
Of course this agreement is faulty.
Can I have a hot cup of cocoa?
Of course, I'll go and put the kettle on. Biscuits?
There has never been a piece of legislation that did not have such imperfections.
Switch on the radio, please, and drive me to the house as quickly as possible.
which may well grant special rights to Protestants in the south and Catholics in the north. But I put this question to the House. What are the Catholics in Northern Ireland who are unwilling to register? Do we twist them all by the arm? We would like to believe that this would work, but we are not able to support it without more information.
Mr. Simon Kerslake.
Speaker, I must thank the House for its generous welcome. I return this evening because, having listened to every word of the debate on the radio, I feel it necessary to explain to honourable members what was behind my thinking with the Patriots' provision. This was not some superficial considerations of party and prejudice to show the bombers and the murderers that we here in Westminster can cast our vote for the children of tomorrow's Ireland. Let the 21st century be the one in which the tragic history of Ireland is forever past history. Mr. Speaker, I seek the support of the whole House.
Your cocoa's gone cold, and I've eaten all the biscuits. Thank you for leaving the radio on. At least I knew where you were.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yes. I'll just tidy up.
Have you given any more thought to my answer to the Lord Chancellor?
Do you really think you'll be happy being a High Court judge?
Well, it's very tempting.
You mean giving up the Commons for good? Forgetting all about number 10?
Yes, I've already considered that.
You'd be bored to tears in a week.
Well, no more than I am now. 46, Joyce. The Tories seem set forever. And if Owen Hughes becomes leader, as I think he will, then I may never hold office again.
Why don't you stand yourself? Why don't you at least wait until we know for sure who's going to be the next leader? You can be a High Court judge any time. They die off as quickly as cabinet ministers.
Ever practical, Joyce.
Well, Alec, you'll have to win the constituency without me from now on.
Yes, commiserations on your booting out, but congratulations to you both. I trust I shall be an honoured guest at your wedding, so long as it doesn't clash with Charles and Diana's.
Has the palace sent your invitation already?
The front row of St. Paul's.
Well, we believe you, Alec.
As a matter of fact, there seems to be a rash of weddings lately.
What do you mean?
None other than your ex-husband.
Charles?
Well, I must say, he's been very secretive about it.
And I wondered why he agreed to a divorce so easily. I thought a rare spirit of kindness had entered his heart.
No, something less rare and far less spiritual has entered his bed.
Who? Oh, Alex, stop being infuriating.
None other than the only daughter of the late and little lamented Brigadier Boozer Wallace.
Amanda Wallace? Surely he's got more sense than that.
I don't think it's much to do with sense, more with sex.
Yeah, but he's old enough to be her father.
Well, in that case, Charles can always adopt her.
Alec, you're incorrigible.
Well, it's common knowledge that she slept with half the cabinet and a considerable cross-section of backbenches.
Stop exaggerating.
And what's more, she only stopped short of the Labour front bench because her mother told her they were common and she might catch something.
Charles certainly can't afford another scandal.
Not at the moment. There's a cabinet reshuffle in the air. One divorce might go unnoticed. Two would be considered habit-forming. And all diligent readers of Nigel Dempster have been able to observe that consummation has taken place.
Went very smoothly.
Short and sweet, anyway.
Thank you for keeping it so quiet, Robert.
My pleasure.
At least there'd be one photographer. Waste of time buying this dress.
Was that a your collection?
Bye-bye, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Robert. Thank you.
Have a good time in Paris.
We will do our best.
Don't bother to send a card. We know where you are.
Don't ring unless the reshuffle's about to be announced.
Right. Well, are you a model too, Susan?
Evening, gentlemen. Good evening.
What's going on over there? It looks like the plot to assassinate Caesar.
For Caesar, read Hollander. I warned you about this years ago at Blackpool, remember? You know Leslie's views on the leadership issue as well as I do. Presenting the power of selection to the unions and the hard left is the final straw for him.
So he's serious about starting a new party? You interested?
No. I'll fight my reselection first.
What if you lose? I hear Frank Boyle's got a lot of support.
We'll just have to cross that bridge when we come to it, won't we, Raymond?
I would like to conclude by saying that I have been proud to serve the people of Edinburgh Carlton for 17 years as their Member of Parliament, and I hope to do so for at least another 17. If, however, you now feel unable to reselect me, I'm afraid I would have to consider standing as an independent candidate.
You're not intimidated by your threats, Mr. Fraser. The Labour Party has always been bigger than any individual.
I trust you remember that, Mr. Boyle.
I therefore declare that Frank Boyle is selected as the official Labour Party candidate for the constituency of Edinburgh Carlton at the next general election. We shall no longer be requiring your services, Mr. Fraser.
I would like to thank those of you who supported me.
Answer that, will you?
It's betting it's for you. Yeah. Speaking. It's all right. I was with.
Who is it?
Yes. Thank you. Good night. God. Must have sounded very abrupt.
Why, who was it?
Prime Minister. Reshuffle's taking place, and she's asked me to be Secretary of State for Defense. Said she didn't want any more dead heroes.
Thank God for that.
I'm going
going to have a bath.
Prime Minister's office, please. Charles Seymour. My call is expected. Good morning, Prime Minister. I should be delighted to accept. Thank you, Prime Minister. Goodbye. Amanda! Guess who's on the phone just now?
What's that?
It's a Holbein of one of my ancestors.
Oh? What's it worth?
It's priceless. And the question is irrelevant. Damn, let's get this frame fixed.
I like to bath in private, if you don't mind.
I've just been speaking to the Prime Minister.
Can't stand that woman.
That woman has just offered me Foreign Secretary.
Was that good?
Yes. Very good indeed.
Is Owen Hughes ring?
Yes.
What did he offer you?
Transport. It's a demotion.
Who did he offer the main jobs to?
I don't know. I didn't ask. He didn't tell me. Not that I'm interested anyway, as I intend to accept the Lord Chancellor's offer. I've wasted too many years. I've had enough.
So have I.
What do you mean?
I think if you're going to make a complete break, I should do so as well.
Sorry, I don't understand.
We haven't been close for a long, long time, Ray. And if you're thinking of giving up the constituency and spending even more time in London, I think we should part.
Is there somebody else?
No one special.
But someone.
There is a man who wants to marry me, yes. We were at school together in Bradford. He's an accountant. He's never married.
Do you love him?
No. I can't pretend that I do, but we're good friends. He's very kind and understanding, and what's more important, he's there. At least the break would give you the chance to ask Kate Hamilton to leave her job in New York, come back to London, and marry you.
Come in.
Oh, how are you?
Much better.
expect him to have black hair and brown eyes. Still, he's a spitting image of my great-grandfather. Well, young Harry, you certainly skipped a couple of generations, didn't you? But there's no doubting. You're a proper Seymour.
It's more than a couple of generations the little bastard has skipped. It's an entire continent.
Well, have you actually seen Charles's son?
I think we should refer to young Harry as Amanda's child. We don't want to be held up under the Trade Descriptions Act.
Come on, Alec, have you seen him?
Yes, I have. And I'm afraid he bears too great a resemblance to his father for it to go unnoticed in later life.
Anyone we know?
I am not a scandalmonger, as you will, but a certain Brazilian fazendero who frequents Cowdray Park and Ascot during the summer months has obviously maintained his interest in English fillies.
They happen to be the most influential members of my constituency. Please try and make some effort to impress them. It's not too much trouble.
Don't bloody well start on me again. The old bags can take me as I am or not at all.
Put your jacket back on. I can see your nipples.
Never bothered you before. Christ, I need a drink.
This is a garden party. They drink tea, eat cake, wear hats. It is not a disco.
Certainly isn't, Charlie. Hello.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Afternoon, Foreign Secretary. Changeable weather.
It is. How are you, Stevie? Veronica, are you well? May I introduce my wife, Amanda?
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do, Mrs. Seymour?
Hello.
We've all been looking forward to meeting you, Mrs. Seymour, and I think you'll be delighted to know that we've asked you to judge the baby contest.
The what?
The baby contest.
I mean, they fight each other.
Yes, well, we must circulate. Excuse us. This way, darling. Wasn't funny.
And I don't know what a baby contest is.
You choose the prettiest one.
That's going to be difficult if they belong to this lot.
It would help if you smiled a little bit.
Did your last wife have to go through this?
Yes.
No wonder she ran away.
Good afternoon, Vicar.
Good afternoon, Mr. Seymour.
Staring at my phone.
It's hardly invisible.
Oh, afternoon, Charles.
Good afternoon, Jean.
Dreadful weather. This your niece?
No, this is my wife, Amanda. Mrs. Blenkinsop was recently awarded the OBE for services to the constituency.
OBE?
Order of the British Empire.
I've always wondered. My father used to tell me it stood for other buggers' efforts. Darling, you must get some sleep. It'll soon be time to get up.
I just hope I'm doing the right thing. Once I inform the Chief Whip, that's it.
Will you speak to Leslie first?
I already have. I admire his stand against the hard left. It's taken enormous courage and ability to form the new party. But asking me to fight Edinburgh Carlton for the SDP, it's a hell of a step.
Andrew, if you were still Labour candidate, would it make any difference?
Not really. Not if it means representing the Labour Party as it stands now.
Well, if that's the case, then I think you've already made your decision. So why don't you come to sleep for a couple of hours? You'll be fit for nothing.
There are people in the Labour Party who'll never forgive me, you know, and certainly never forget. Traitor, that's what they'll say.
Well, let them. Who's given 20 years of his life to the party? You haven't deserted the Labour Party, it's deserted you. So leave it to the Frank Boyles of the world.
I love you.
I know.
Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Fraser, you are 6 short. Understand, sir?
Can I have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen? Mr. Fraser has demanded a recount.
He doesn't have to worry. A dozen recounts won't affect his position.
What news?
Well, it's Boyle's turn to demand a recount, I'm afraid.
Mr. Boyle has demanded a further recount. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now faced with yet another recount. But I have decided that this recount will take place during the hours of daylight. So will you please now put all the ballot papers back into the boxes, which will then be locked and left in the safe custody of the local constabulary while we all crawl home to our beds. May I just say thank you very much for your efforts so far, and I look forward to seeing you all at 9 a.m. prompt. Good night. What's the overall position now, then?
Tory landslide of at least 140.
SDP?
5 so far.
Well, that's 5 more seats than you had yesterday. I, Peter McHarg, being the returning officer for the parliamentary constituency of Edinburgh Carlton, hereby declare the total number of votes cast for each candidate to be as follows. Frank Boyle, 18,437. Jamie Douglas, 5,714. Andrew Fraser, 18,437. Now, in accordance with Section 16 of the Representation of the People Act 1949 and Rule 50 of the Parliamentary Election Rules in the second schedule to that Act, I am obliged to decide between tied candidates by lot. I have spoken with the Lord Advocate of Scotland and have confirmed that the drawing of straws or the toss of a coin may constitute decision by lot for this purpose. Both candidates have agreed to the latter course of action. And I have borrowed from the Royal Bank of Scotland a golden sovereign. On one side is the head of King George III, and on the other, Britannia. I shall invite the sitting member, Mr. Fraser, to call his preference. Mr. Fraser, you will call, please, while the coin is in the air.
Tails.
Tails it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you'll agree with me that the...
No, Sergeant, there are no signs of a break-in, but the objects that I described to you are undoubtedly missing. Yes, I have got photographs of them, and I'll leave them with my housekeeper. They're all unique, so they can't be that hard to trace. Thank you, Sergeant. Goodbye. Come in.
Mr. Oscar Swan.
Morning, Mr. Swan. Do sit down. Good of you to bring the picture personally.
Oh, I was passing, Mr. Seymour. It was no problem. I'm afraid the picture didn't quite fit the frame.
Well, I expect it's worked loose over the years.
No, that frame has been put on the portrait quite recently.
Yeah, that's not possible. I remember the frame as well as I remember the picture. This portrait of the first Earl of Markham has been in my family for over 400 years.
Not that picture.
What do you mean?
Well, that picture came up for sale at Sotheby's about 3 weeks ago. It's School of Holbein, of course. Probably painted by one of his pupils around the time of his death. I should think there are a dozen or so in existence.
A dozen or so?
Yes, perhaps even more. At least it solved one mystery for me.
And what's that?
I couldn't work out why Lady Fiona Dalglish was bidding for the picture at Sotheby's, and then I remembered that she was once a Seymour.
I see. And this is that copy?
Without doubt, Mr. Seymour. Lady Fiona paid only £10,000 for it, as opposed to the original, of course, which, as you know, is priceless.
What are you doing here?
Well, I've come to try to win you back. I'm sorry, it's a cliche. I've...
It's the best thing you've said in years.
Are we alone, sir? Yes, my wife is out at the moment. Do sit down, Inspector. Now, you said on the phone that you'd managed to trace the missing items.
Yes, sir.
Well done, Inspector.
I'm afraid there's a complication, sir.
What complication?
We can't be sure there was anything illegal about the disappearance in the first place.
What do you mean?
The missing objects were traced to a dealer in Grafton Street. Now, we're convinced that he bought them in good faith.
Who was doing the selling, Inspector?
I thought I ought to have a word with you in private, sir, as I'm sure you won't want us to prefer charges.
Who sold them, Inspector?
The check was made out to Amanda Seymour, and the description fits your wife.
I've got to answer that.
Leave it.
No, just this once. Be all right, be all right. Come on.
Hello, Mr. Gould's residence.
Must be the wrong Mr. Gould if he's got a butler.
I'm sorry, who am I talking to?
Owen Hughes, leader of the Labour Party who hasn't got a butler.
Well, I'm sorry, Owen. I've been celebrating with my wife.
Celebrating before you've heard the news?
What news?
I've been juggling the new team around all day. I'd like you to join the Shadow Cabinet, Secretary of State for Social Services.
Could you hold the line for a second, please? Would you come to live with me in London if I don't become a judge? Hello, Owen. Yes, of course I'd be delighted. Yes, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you. Good night. Wow. Thank God I woke up in time.
Daddy waiting up for me? Is the Foreign Secretary going to smack my bottom because I went to Annabelle's again?
Don't scream or I'll hit you even harder. Now just shut up and listen to me.
The hell's the matter with you?
This is a receipt from an antique dealer in Grafton Street, where you sold valuable objects belonging to me.
That's not true.
Don't make matters worse by lying.
Why should I steal anything from you? You give me enough money as it is.
Shut up. Normally, I would have given you the benefit of the doubt. Have I ever denied you anything? What on earth do you want extra money for?
There you are.
Unless you had something to hide. This belongs to you. It contains cocaine.
You wouldn't know what cocaine was.
I am not that naive, Amanda. Or would you like me to call the police inspector, who is here today, and ask him to make a positive identification?
All right. So it's coke. Lots of people take it. It's no big deal.
I give you an allowance to support you and my son. Not your drug habit.
What are you doing?
There's a taxi waiting outside for you. Take you to the Royal Lancaster Hotel. I've booked a suite for you there, and you can find somewhere to live. Harry will stay here with the nanny. If it wasn't for him, I'd have very little hesitation in making sure that you spend a very long time in jail. Goodbye, Amanda.